Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the A3 Review. We know you guys have been waiting a mega long time for an episode to come out. Well, we have a mega episode for you guys.
That's right. Today we're going to look at the evolution of MP Megatron. And not only the MP-05, which started it all, or the most recent MP-36, but also the third-party entries into the race over the recent years.
Yeah, and it's been a while since we've done an episode. I think we missed one?
Yeah, we definitely missed one. And
yeah.
With our 2-week schedule, that means it's been a whole month.
Yeah.
But I guarantee it's worth your while. It just took a long time to actually acquire some of these pieces because I actually don't own all of them. So we had to get all these pieces again just to do this cool little comparison episode. And also, it's a lot for you to deal with in terms of the camera work and all of the post-production. So we really hope you enjoy it. We've been planning this for quite a while now, ever since we knew MP-36 was coming down the pipe. So yeah, enjoy and sit back, and we're going to go through in chronological order all of the masterpieces that have come out for Megatron.
Yeah. My name is Alex.
I'm Boris.
And you're watching the A3 Review. So what you're watching is the evolution of the masterpiece scale Megatrons. And to kick it off, I think it'd be a great idea to start off with the Megatron that started it all, MP-05 from Takara.
MP-05, of course, was released in 2007.
Yes.
Shortly after the release of MP-01 and all of its additional molds. It very much was its own scale at that point.
Yeah.
So they're larger than the MP scale that we know today. Mm-hmm. And I think MP-10 was the one that marked the new scale that we know today.
Yeah. And I think back then, when they started first coming out with the different MPs, they really didn't know where they were going with the direction of where they wanted to take it. So that's why we had all these different scales, and it was only up until MP-10 came out, that's when things started becoming a little bit more uniform. This is kind of its own thing, in a way.
That's right, because, I mean, it's really hard to scale Megatron anyways. Much like the Seekers. Yeah. Because you could have it in scale in bot mode, but once they turn into their alt modes, like, Megatron's supposed to shrink to a hand-sized gun. Yeah. So this hand-sized gun was not very hand-sized when it's transformed, which you'll see later. Yeah. And then on top of that, I think it really tried to be very toy accurate. And at the time, I don't think there was this concept of what they wanted to do with the Masterpiece line, whether it was supposed to be toy accurate, cartoon accurate. Because I could say MP-01, when I first saw it, was definitely way more towards the cartoon than it had ever been previously. In terms of a G1 inspiration. But still, the MP-01 had a lot of feel to it that was like the toy still. And not 100% tune, although it had a lot of aspects of that homage from the cartoon as well. So I feel like Megatron leaned definitely towards the toy side.
For sure. Yeah, that was basically my first impression as well. When I took it out of the box, the first thing I thought of was like, this is essentially a more articulated and more detailed version of the G1 toy. That's immediately my first thought. And I think that it received a lot of mixed reactions. Mainly because I think at the time people didn't really know what they wanted at the time, right? So
that's right. I think it was nice to finally get a Megatron that represented his original G1 gun aspect as well as the toy. But I think people did want to see a little bit more tune accuracy. But given that we hadn't had anything since then to this piece, that large gap between it really made it very viable for this product. And, you know, when it first came out, everybody loved it. You know, because it was the best that you had for a Megatron. So I think you can't knock it for the fact that it was, you know, pioneering
not at all.
Whole this whole scale along with Prime. Now, having said that, there were obviously a lot of downsides that now are probably even more glaring because you have such evolution in everything.
Yeah.
But for example, like the legs.
Yeah.
They... Oh man, I can't count how many times this guy has fallen down in his display on me.
Yeah, and that's what you get when they're like so narrow and like look at them. It's just not. It just doesn't feel or even look very sturdy.
It's not, and the weight balance doesn't help it. It was very top heavy, and then you know, when you try to start doing some aggressive posing with this guy, don't bother. Yeah. Just like the MP-01. You want to get really aggressive with it, it's going to start falling like apart everywhere. Yeah. Not to say that you couldn't do a lot more than you could with the G1 toy at the time, which is what everybody was probably looking forward to. Yeah. But, you know, it lacked in articulation in terms of that because of its weight balance. Yep. But it gave us a lot of new articulation that we had not previously been provided with. So, you know, in a lot of cases, it was really an era piece for what it was. And the fingers, again, you know, all articulated, everything. Really cool. So, yeah, I mean, did you feel the same way about MP-05 when you first got it? Did you think it was like the best?
I thought it was the best. I didn't, like you said, there was nothing to compare it to. So when I looked at this, I thought, this is the definitive Megatron. It couldn't possibly get any better. And that's what we're going to go with. But then third-party Megatrons came out.
That's right. And it wasn't until, like, basically nearly a decade afterwards. So, yeah, let's move on.
Sure.
And take a look at the next Megatron in line that came out for the Masterpiece scale.
So the next Megatron we're going to look at is actually the first third-party Masterpiece scale Megatron, and that would be the X-transbot Apollyon.
That's right. This comes nearly a decade after the release of the first Masterpiece Megatron MP-05. And this came out in, what, 2015?
2015, that's right.
And it definitely catered to the new MP-10 scaling factor, and as well as you know, keeping the whole gun aspect to it. It upped the ante in terms of cartoon accuracy, in terms of articulation, and also transformation, of course.
Yes.
Now, there were a few gripes about it, like you know, there's some looseness to the production, and, you know, in general, some of the transformation was a little bit more complicated than a lot of people had hoped still. And a lot of smaller pieces that can be fragile, so you just got to be a little bit careful with it. Some people had no problems with it. So, you know, it's one of those pieces when you get into it, you'll start realizing you need to not have a heavy hand with it. But it was a great piece. And,
totally.
You know, you loved the design when you first saw it too, right?
I love the design. Sure, there was those QC errors. I mean, not QC flaws, such as loose parts. But I'm just thinking, this is the first third-party Masterpiece scale Megatron, and it looks great on your first impression. And I think just like the first, you know, MP5, you know, they didn't really have anything to go with other than we just want to make a more cartoon accurate Masterpiece scale Megatron, and it's definitely going to be an improvement from the MP5. So that's what they got. But of course, like, you know, further down the road, you know, some other companies will try to improve upon that, right?
Yeah, it's always like that. But I do feel that they did a very good figure. Apollyon did very well with the consumers, and I would say probably one of X-transbot's flagship pieces. That started to really bolster them as a third party that could come out with some very substantial collector pieces.
For sure, absolutely agree. This is a very strong release, especially for X-transbot. They've done a phenomenal job in really capturing that look that they wanted to go for. And it's a look that a lot of the fans, I think, were really pleased with.
And, you know, of course, where third party starts, it never ends.
It never ends.
Yeah. So, a year after that, we have another couple of Megatrons that we're going to take a look at next.
The next third-party masterpiece scale Megatron we're going to look at is the DX9 Mitron.
This one came out just a year after, in 2016, and further up the ante of trying to really hit the cartoon accuracy.
Yeah.
I thought one of the highlights of this piece was the head sculpt.
Mm-hmm.
It was just beautiful.
Yeah.
The coloring was really nicely done on this entire piece, including the head sculpt. Mm-hmm. And I think in terms of articulation, all of that kind of stuff, it's still carrying on the same track as Apollyon started.
Yeah.
However, felt that they cleaned it up a little bit in transformation.
Definitely. It's got a more clean look to it. It's definitely more refined. And once they're changing up the design of the figure, especially in the transformation, things start to appear a little bit out of place.
That's right. I mean, for a lot of the cleanliness in the legs and for the difference in transformation from the Apollyon, DX9 was criticized a little bit for the fact that it left a lot of kibble on the back.
Yeah.
And it almost felt unfinished because of that kibble. I guess when you see it from the front, you really want that continuity moving all the way through to the back. And, it was definitely one of those criticized, but probably more nitpicking kind of things that was said about this piece. And then, as well as that, I don't know if it's because the production itself was rushed, but in the barrel where there's a lot of paint done, and it is a die-cast barrel there.
Yeah.
A lot of the paint seemed to have settled in there, creating large globs of paint.
Oh, yeah.
Which a lot of people also pointed out. So, not to knock it, but of course, with the good, always comes the bad.
Yeah, and I find that a lot of these little things that people are knocking it for is, like you said, is a little bit nitpicky, but when you look at it at face value, it's a pretty decent looking Megatron. I mean, it looks good. Yeah,
I really enjoyed the outing. I thought that, in general, the paint on this, the paint job on this was really a highlight.
Yeah.
And the cleanliness of what it looks like from the front.
Yeah.
Really great. Definitely closer to the cartoon accuracy than even Apollyon hit. And the major thing was the price point. It comes in at the cheapest of all of the MP scale Megatrons. So very good value for what you're getting as well.
For sure.
Yep. Let's move on to the next.
So we've looked at two third-party masterpiece scale Megatrons, and this battle is getting pretty intense because in the same year, just only a few months after the release of Mitron, Make Toys steps into the game with Despotron.
And Make Toys, I think, really, really nailed it on the cleanliness.
Yeah.
All those complaints that were given about the DX9 Mitron really looked like it was eradicated with Make Toys' release. So Make Toys' release was really very refined in terms of transformation. Also, articulation was far exceeding the first two. It featured a lot of great articulation and a lot of power poses that you could really do with Despotron. So it was a very fun masterpiece. However, getting all this cleanliness, of course, there were some downsides.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people complained about the very largely disproportionate legs.
Yeah.
They were very fat.
Yeah, it almost I feel that they had to put all the kibble somewhere, so, it's kind of like a give and take. It's got a very, very clean look, but the legs kind of take a bulk of, all the complaints.
Yeah, I mean, the transformation and design also led to some of those design decisions in the final bot. I don't think, once again, it's a nitpicking thing because I don't think overall it takes away that much from the bot itself for the amount of cleanliness you get with this piece. I mean, through and through, when you look at it from all angles, it's very clean. And because you can articulate it in such an aggressive manner, I think that really played on that strength for the Despotron. Almost made it look like, some people were like saying to me, look like just a posable figure. It wasn't actually transformable, but of course it has the full transformation. And then also Make Toys, of course, always likes to do its own thing and kind of take some liberties with the design. So I'm not sure if this was really a step forward for the tune accuracy, as it feels that it actually stepped back a little bit from the DX9 Mitron, but not in a bad way. I really liked the look of Despotron, and it also came with 3 great faceplates to change up his expressions. So it really gave Despotron a lot of character amongst all of the third-party masterpiece.
I feel that with Despotron, there's they found this balance where you capture the essence of Megatron. You also look at the previous releases for the third parties, and you take all the things that they could improve upon or find what the best parts are. And to top things off, Make Toys puts in their own flavor, thus creating something that I think both Megatron fans as well as people looking for something fresh will be very pleased with.
That's correct. So yeah, a great entry into the series.
Yeah.
So now, without further ado, let's take a look at the last and most recent entry into the MP Megatron race.
And finally, after all that we've looked at, the original masterpiece and the 3 third-party masterpiece scale Megatrons, we finally have MP-36 Megatron.
The version 2 of Takara's masterpiece outing. And what a difference.
Huge.
Yeah. When I first opened the box, I was just blown away. Especially because there had been 3 other third-party releases in the middle. I just didn't think I would be wowed by anything anymore. I thought it would be more of the same kind of deal. Maybe with some refinements, but they really, really nailed the tune accuracy on this guy. Yeah,
they managed to actually take a character that we've seen so many versions of and make it almost completely different.
Yeah, the transformation was inspiring. The face sculpt, just brilliant. And the paint finish on this. Unlike the rest of the third parties and even the first version of the Masterpiece Megatron, they didn't apply that regular brushed aluminum or silver that you're used to. They did almost like what looked like in pictures, and maybe even on this video, it looks like a flat kind of a gray, but it's actually not. In person, this gray actually has some sort of a sheen to it. It's almost like a very subdued, like metallic in there. But it's very little. So it still gives it this really nice like finish that's not completely flat, but it really catches the light and catches all those details. Phenomenal job. And the color is really good on it.
It looks really, really nice with what they've done with the paint job. So I really like what's going on there. And just overall, it's just such a good looking robot. Proportionate and oh man, and I just feel like it's G1. It's just totally just straight out of watching the cartoons.
Definitely. And I love how they didn't go with straight black and gray for everything. They varied the tones. So actually a lot of it's the legs, the actual scope or cannon. They're actually like this dark gray. So it doesn't give it like this huge contrast right away, which makes the whole like look of it feel more harmonious and in line with the cartoon, in my opinion. So yeah, really done well. I feel like articulation is also very much there. So they've pretty much improved on just about everything while stepping way more towards the cartoon accuracy. But I do feel like in terms of cleanliness, if you look at this Megatron compared to the Despotron right before it, which was one of the cleanest of the bunch, one could say that it did take a little bit of a step back. When it comes to the cleanliness of the figure, you do see a lot lines, and then especially when you turn to the back, there's It's not a lot of kibble, but it's a noticeable unfinished kibbling in the back. Not a deal breaker by any means. This is a phenomenal toy. But if we were to say, look at the evolution of it, it does feel it took a little bit of a step back in terms of cleanliness, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's only if you paid too much attention to the back, but I mean, he looks fantastic from the front, and I think that this is something that I would have a lot of fun with.
Yeah, absolutely. So, speaking of that, let's take a look at the accessories, and also let's get these guys into gun mode.
Yeah.
So that we can actually take a look at what actually happens in the transformation and what the result is.
So now we're going to look at the gun modes, and first up we got MP5, the very first Megatron, and he's big.
The biggest of the bunch, actually. And it is also the cleanest looking.
Yeah.
So you give up a little bit for the cleanly look of the gun mode. What you see is what you get. Scope turns on. Transformation wasn't as hard as we remember it to be.
Yeah.
Because everything has advanced now. Does not come with the stock and the barrel, but looks great without it.
Yeah. What's next?
Let's take a look at Apollyon.
Okay.
Do this in chronological order again.
Sure, here we go.
So the Apollyon was the next evolution of this guy. Substantially smaller, of course.
Yeah.
So it fits in the hand quite nicely.
Yeah.
Definitely was much harder transformation. It also has the light up scope, and he does actually come with the stock and barrel accessories, which we'll show a little bit later.
And next up we got
DX9 Mitron.
Mitron, okay.
Yeah, so the Mitron is also very clean looking.
Yeah.
Cleaner than the Apollyon, so I feel like the evolution did go back to having a cleaner look, and still a substantially smaller gun than the MP-05 as we saw earlier. The transformation was a little bit more obvious than the Apollyon. Didn't have so many things going on. I actually quite enjoyed it, and it also, did I mention it has the light up scope?
Yeah, it's got the light up scope.
Yeah, I'm big on the light up scope, I guess. Keep mentioning it. So yeah, that's it.
All right, and moving on, who do we have next?
Next, we've got Despotron by Make Toys.
All right, and just looking at Despotron at first glance, look at how thick that handle is.
Yeah, it's not very comfortable, but you know, we already saw a hint of that in the bot mode.
Yeah.
It was the stockiest, and it had the thickest legs.
Yep.
Well, unfortunately, it does transfer itself to the alt mode.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I guess is fine, but it does look a little bit disproportioned.
Yeah.
Again, it does feature no stock, no barrel.
Yeah.
But it feels like the brightness of the paint went up again.
Yeah,
in this
it did.
evolution.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
Yeah, but still a very nice finish to it. Transformation was, you know, not as complicated as the Apollyon. But it was actually quite fun. There's a lot of parts to it that were quite intuitive, and I feel like this is maybe one of the more intuitive above and beyond the rest of them. You could probably transform a lot of this without instructions. So a very, very good thing for this guy here. Although I do feel it kind of went backwards a little bit in evolution in terms of how busy it starts looking again.
Yeah, it does look really, really busy. It's like patchwork.
Yeah, clean in the bot mode.
Yeah.
Somehow got a little bit messier in the gun mode.
Yeah.
And no light up feature in this scope.
That's kind of like a de-evolution.
Yeah. So I guess they just didn't want to mess with the electronics. I don't know. Yeah. So let's move on
to the very last one, and that would be the latest released from the Masterpiece Scale line, and that's, of course, MP-36.
That's right. MP-36, once again, reintroduces the light on the scope.
Yeah.
And it does come also with the full stock and barrel, which we will also see later on the actual gun itself. Now, the actual transformation was pretty crazy. This was definitely the most complicated out of all of them.
Extremely.
So yeah, I mean, I'll talk about that a little bit later, but it's definitely, not easy. It was a little fun in many parts, but a lot of parts I was sweating and hoping I don't break an expensive collectible.
You started growing facial hair because of that.
Yeah, it really aged me a lot to deal with these guns.
Yeah.
And again, it feels like it moved even more on the de-evolution scale when it came to the cleanliness of it.
Yeah.
This one just throws lines everywhere in it.
Yeah.
So you definitely not a very clean weapon. Mm-hmm. You look at this thing and you know it.
Yeah.
Something's funky about it. It must transform into something.
Yeah.
But hey, whatever. It's a transformer. So yeah, there you have it. Let's take a look at all of the guns together and
give you our thoughts.
Yeah.
So we have every single one of these masterpiece scale Megatrons in front of us and transformed into their gun modes.
Yeah, that's right. So just for a refresher, this is MP-05.
Yep.
I'm holding the Apollyon, comes with the silencer and the stock.
And I'm holding MP-36,
silencer
also
and stock.
Silencer and stock.
There's the DX9 Megatron, as well as the Make Toys Despotron.
Yes.
So, I mean, something like this, it's kind of unfair to really judge. We're not gun buffs, so we don't know how accurate to the actual gun. I've never held a Walther myself.
Yeah.
But, in terms of sizing, we can kind of talk about that. I would say of the bunch, MP-36 seems to be the smallest.
Yeah.
And therefore, from what I know about the Walther is not a huge gun.
No, it's not.
So it should fit in your hand very nicely.
Yeah.
This seems to be the smallest of the bunch, so it does seem to form fit to your hand a little bit more.
Yeah.
DX9 would be the next step up. It's a slightly larger.
Yeah.
Not by much though, right?
No, it's not that much. You can tell just by feeling it when you feel the grip.
Yeah, and I think even if you put it, you can see that it's not much larger.
Yeah.
But, in terms of if you're looking for something that is, kind of more realistic to the gun, I guess, in terms of a size, it'd probably be the DX9 and the MP-36.
Yep, I would say so.
The MP-05 is completely ridiculous.
It's huge.
Yeah, looks great on, if you've got it mounted on a wall or something. But, just isn't really it's not that comfortable to hold. It's actually a very big gun. But,
It is, however, the cleanest looking and the best looking out of them all.
Well, I was going to say that, that's what we kind of looked at next was, after you transform it all.
Yeah.
MP-05, although the transformation is outdated, there's not as complicated as it once was.
Yeah.
It actually, you're right, it's the cleanest. It doesn't have as many lines going on everywhere. DX9 does a pretty decent job.
It definitely does.
It's also very clean. The Despotron, although it looked much cleaner in bot mode, you can tell it suffers a little bit when it comes out into the gun mode. And Apollyon definitely is a lot of, you can just tell all the transformation lines. And then MP-36... Unfortunately, there are lines everywhere.
Yeah.
Not to say it's bad. It
has to be like that.
It's just not as clean.
If you want a more complex transformation, that's what has to happen.
Yeah, that's right. And then talking about transformations.
Oh.
I mean, I feel like I aged since we've even had to do a wardrobe change. As you can tell.
It's been a while.
That's how long it took us to transform all these guys. And I could tell you, I remember I used to think the MP-05 was so challenging.
Yeah.
And now compared to all the new guys, it's actually the least challenging.
Yeah.
The Despotron was a lot of fun too. I didn't find that one. As unnecessarily complicated.
I agree.
I mean, it had complexity to it, but it wasn't bad complexity. It was actually done very nicely. But still, complicated. And then the DX9 was kind of on par with the Despotron in some terms. In others, it was not. But it had a lot of things where you had to slide it into another kind of position and through the handle piece, for example. And you kind of had to get it right. Like, you had to do it in the right steps, otherwise it's going to be really difficult and you have to kind of backtrack.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say like the most complicated is probably the MP-36. It had a lot going on.
Cool.
And you know, kudos to you if you can transform it without the instructions.
Yeah.
But honestly, you should just transform it with the instructions.
Yeah.
Save you a lot of grief.
Yeah.
I figured out a lot of parts, but there are just some parts where it's like you kind of have to know that a certain part moves a certain way. Otherwise, it's not happening. Apollyon, same thing. A lot of little kind of nitty-gritty kind of pieces that really have to peg into the right places.
Yeah.
A lot of thin pieces too, so you can't brute force things. Yeah, it's not the best fit for the stock, as you can see. It's a little loose, just on the end of it. No, yeah, that actually bends. It has articulation, so it's great.
Things are just happening.
Yeah. So I mean, transformation-wise, kind of, I'd say the most interesting is probably the MP-36, but also the most complicated.
Yeah.
It really dives out of the norm for transforming. Simplest would be the MP-05. So if you don't really want a big challenge, MP-05 is still your guy.
Yeah.
But you know, that really doesn't leave us with much except gimmicks afterwards.
Yeah.
Of course, if you want the silencer and the stock and the add-on, you know, these two are your guys because you know they kind of come with. Is this the right way?
No, I think it was right there the first time.
It was. It's kind of you know, completes the look, I feel. Yeah. So these two are definitely the best for the complete look. But you know, if you don't care so much for that, then you know these barrels can come off. Yeah. And the stock can come off, and it can look kind of like your classic like Megatron without the stock and the barrel. And then when it comes to the scopes, all of them have the light up feature. Yeah. Amazingly, except for the Despotron. The Despotron does not have the electronics. I'm surprised. Yeah, I was a little bit shocked. I thought it did. I don't usually put batteries into mine. I did for a couple of these, but you know, so you can see. Woo! Red light. They all kind of have it, but the Despotron does not. So if that's a deal breaker for you, Despotron, no lighting. Yeah. So you need to get something with lighting. Sure. And other than that, I mean, that's about it.
So that's our look at the gun modes for all the individual Megatrons. Let's take a look at some of their accessories. So now we're going to take a look at the accessories. We got them all lined up right here from MP5 to MP36. Let's talk about them.
So first we have MP-05. Pretty basic set of accessories, but you know, it started it all, so there's still some great homages on it. You got Megatron's pistol there, his last stand energy sword, the energy mace
and chain.
Yep. And Kremzik, which is one of my favorites from this set. He just looks so cool. The translucent yellow plastic really came through.
And that's the most unique accessory because none of them come with that.
Yeah, so I really love that one. And it scales nicely with all of it. You can use it with any of them. Yeah. And then you have the Apollyon, which comes with the stock and barrel, most notably the silencer, which, you know, is already a leg up because the original did not come with that. And, you know, we've all seen Megatron with that extension. And then of course it comes with, again, the pistol, his last stand sword, the mace, and then he also comes with a couple of other ones, or a few of the other ones, like the key to Vector Sigma. Yeah. The asteroid that hits his chest. You can swap out the chest piece and have asteroid battle damage. Yeah. And then of course the
what is that?
The clone helmet, where he tries to clones Optimus Prime and tries to mind control it to
lure
the Autobots.
Oh, I don't remember that episode. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a great episode. He basically, made a clone of Optimus Prime.
Okay. All right, moving on. We have the accessories for
DX9
Mitron.
Again, you get the mace. And this one comes with an extra faceplate. So you get the angry Megatron look. And then it comes with his energy sword, but they did something very different with this. They tried to definitely do their own thing with it. So it doesn't really look like your typical energy sword, first of all. And then it turns into a scythe. So basically, after you put the scythe together, it's actually
the
least amount of accessories.
It's like a scythe.
It's totally counting the number of pieces.
So
an energy scythe is kind of what it turned into. But I do feel like...
well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting little take on everything. Although I don't know how, well suited it is for everything. It is what it is. So yeah, that's the scythe.
Yeah.
And then moving on, so it's actually sorry, I guess after you put the scythe together, it's actually the least amount of accessories. It feels like.
Yeah.
If you're counting the number of pieces.
Yeah.
But I do feel like the Despotron in actuality is probably the least amount because it just includes more face plates, but really all you're getting is faceplate and you're getting the mace.
Yeah.
There is no energy sword, nor is there a pistol or anything else. Nevertheless, the faces give it a lot of character, which is very cool. And then last but not least, you have the MP-36, which, man, it comes with everything. So it has the awesome faceplates, including the one for the final battle where he, looks all like
totally beat up
and everything, and then later runs into Unicron. Also comes with an extra chest plate that mimics the same thing.
It's like a battle damage version.
That's right. And then of course energy sword, the mace, the helmet for clone control, the key to Vector Sigma, and also the pistol. So
it's pretty much like accessories that we've already seen before, but all together, grouped into one,
and with a few extras.
With a few extra stuff,
like the chest piece. Yeah, that's right. Which is great. I think it offers the most value. A lot of people are wondering, why is MP-36 so expensive? It's well worth it with all the extra value you get, and also the make of the actual gun, the paint job and everything, very top notch. So yeah, I mean that's kind of a look at all the accessories. So if you're looking for something with a lot of value, I mean you are paying more for that value, but if you are looking for more completion, I would say Apollyon and MP-36. They seem like they fit the bill more. Yeah. Correct?
Because you gotta have those, the barrel and the stock.
That's right. Yeah. If you're interested in having Megatron have different character in his expressions, I mean, Despotron and the MP-36 really did that very well with the extra face molds. And then if you're looking for something a little bit different, I mean, DX9 has their little transforming scythe Energon weapon. That's kind of cool.
And if you want Crimzik,
if you want Crimzik, unfortunately you're only gonna get it with MP-05 accessories, but once you get it, you can use him for everything. He just fits in so well with every scale. So yeah, there you have it, a look at all the accessories. All in all, kind of a great outing for all of the parties here.
Yeah. So now, after all that we've talked about and all that you've seen, it is time to make a comparison. And we got them lined up from the most earliest release to the most recent release. And of course, to do a really good comparison, we got them all posed exactly the same.
That's right. So, for the most part, it's subjective to what you guys think.
Of course.
What your guys' design choices are. But we're just going to go through a few of the highlight points that people look for to kind of at least help you, the viewer, identify what's the differences of the main points of these figures. So first off, Alex, we could start with height.
Yeah.
Because that's a really simple one.
Yeah.
If you don't give a crap about scale or anything else, for sure, the MP-05 was the biggest of all of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's a really, really tall piece compared to the rest, as you can see.
You know what? To some of the collectors and the fans, some of them might perceive height and larger size as more value. So some people might like that, right?
Yeah. So it does have a very vintage feel to it now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. So maybe it goes nice beside the new MP-36 or one of these third parties.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the actual new version 2 height, which was set by MP-10, you can see that all of these Megatrons do try to achieve the same scale in some way or another. You can definitely tell by very little margin. The Despertron is probably the shortest of the bunch by a very negligible amount.
Yeah.
But I think because of its legs and everything else, it gives it that look that it is the stockier one out of all of them. Now, in terms of height-wise with this scale as well, the tallest member seems to be the masterpiece MP-36 Megatron.
Just by a little bit.
By a little bit. By a very, very little bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's not to say that it is a determining factor.
Yeah.
Just those are some big points. And then now moving on to the head sculpt.
Now, with regards to the head sculpts, once again, it comes down to whether you're looking for more toy accuracy or toon accuracy. And right away, just from first glance, these two really nail it with the toon accuracy. I mean, these two definitely do a good job, but not as good as these ones. And of course, we know what's going on here. This is just kind of like its own thing. Like, it stands on its own.
That's
but,
right.
like, I'd have to say, like, if we're doing a comparison between these two, this one is the closest.
I think the MP-36 definitely nails it closest if you're looking for kind of a cartoon head sculpt. But just in terms of a standout, toon accurate head sculpt, both of these actually, you know, come very close. In my opinion, they're just really well done in terms of the actual facial expression, everything. These ones here, I don't know what they're really trying to hit. Obviously, they might have tried to hit some sort of a cartoon or anime look to it. But it didn't quite look like the G1 cartoons, but they still have very good expressions. Something to note is that the the Make Toys MP Megatron does come with extra facial expressions, which really makes that head sculpt stand out because it can have more character to it. Also, MP-36 has mirrored that with just as many. It has a great line of different facial expressions. Mitron only comes with one other one, which has an open mouth, which I'm not a huge fan of. But yeah, these guys here are what you see is what you get with the head sculpt. So definitely something to consider if head sculpts are your thing. Unfortunately, none of them really mimic the toy accuracy that much because the toy head sculpt wasn't really that great. So it's kind of good that they moved away from the old G1 toy. Let's take a look at the legs. Was another very big difference with all of these Megatrons.
I mean, if we're looking at legs from an evolution standpoint, I mean, we got the original one with the very, very thin, narrow legs, which are not very, very sturdy. And then you have something that's a little bit better, but then it's really busy looking. It's definitely, you know, got a lot of parts to it. Now, this is where they cleaned it up. This is where they just really, it's like black and white between these two. Now, this one, they kind of bulked it up a bit. But now this one is kind of in between, too narrow, too big, just right.
That's right. I think if you're someone that really cares about the legs, its articulation, the look of the legs, MP-36 definitely hits a lot of those notes. It's got great articulation. The symmetry and the weight balance in the legs look really good proportionately. Still very clean as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Hides a lot of the kibble. So, I mean, if you're looking for less of the kibble, these three kind of win out.
Yeah.
And it just depends on the style of leg that you like.
Yeah.
Again, Make Toys is a very different aesthetic. So if you like the stocky looking robots,
yeah,
with the large kind of anime features like overdone legs, overdone forearms, it feels like Make Toys might be your piece.
Yeah.
If you really don't care about the kibble, I mean, all of them, with the exception of MP-05, are quite articulate.
Yes.
So I don't really knock any of them, though I do feel the sturdiest of the bunch would be the Despotron and the Megatron. These guys are still very good. And this guy, I would not pose him in any other pose than what he's doing right here, and I would never shake the cabinet that it's in.
Yeah.
Okay, so having said that too, let's take a look at the hands.
Sure.
And the articulation in the hands. Now, the very original MP-05 actually had separately articulated fingers. So each one of the fingers could actually move, and there's joints in there to actually move the individual knuckles and everything. And so did the Apollyon. They kind of continued with that kind of feel to it. Although the Apollyon, it's even more free moving because everything is set on ball joints.
Yeah.
Which it's great for like doing hand gestures.
Yep.
But holding anything is more difficult because you have all this movement in the hands. So that's kind of what articulation does generally for bots, I find.
Yeah.
And then these three guys kind of went with the same schematic. The index finger and the thumb moves pretty freely and it has good articulation, and then and no ball joints in the index fingers. It's just a swivel. But then the three fingers are very similar to how the rest of the Masterpiece line works with some of the cars even, where the last three fingers are kind of joined together. And they're great for wielding weapons. When it's like that sturdy, it really looks good that way. But I would say that when you compare all of them, they all look very similar in terms of the actual look and feel of them. They don't look as natural. Whereas you get into MP-36, that's one thing they did. They're very different. They made the hands look very natural. They have some natural curving to the hands.
You can see that.
It's not just square. It has a lot more character to the hands. Another kind of one-up if you're looking for that cartoon accuracy, right? Because in the cartoon, they weren't blocky and robotic. They were actually, they had some curves to it, some organic feel to it, especially when he clenches his fist at Starscream, right? So that's something I feel like if you're looking for that, the MP-36 again does just a phenomenal job on those details.
Yeah, for sure. You got the articulation and you have a nice aesthetic look to it.
But yeah, in terms of evolution, I'd say they went a little bit backwards in terms of articulation in the hands, but not in a bad way. I feel like I don't need more than that kind of articulation with the hands having the index finger and the thumb being able to be moved. I find it actually is a good balance in terms of holding a weapon, holding a pose, as opposed to all free-flowing fingers. That's just my opinion.
So let's move on to talk about cleanliness and kibble. And I'll tell you that just from looking at the back, this one is the cleanest and has the least amount of kibble, if any at all.
Yeah, Despotron and Apollyon definitely do a great job of not having too much kibble hang out on the upper body. But more so, Despotron just throughout keeps that same theme. There's very little kibble hanging out anywhere. Apollyon, although the upper body looks clean, you start to lose it towards the forearms and the legs and you know, a little bit of the lower body here, because a lot of it is actually very busy, like you said earlier. Mitron does a great job, but it does kind of lose a lot of points in terms of kibble when it comes to the back of the figure, the upper torso. Had it cleaned that up, I think it would probably be the cleanest figure, right?
It could be, in
terms of design and
for
everything.
sure.
I think it would actually be a very aesthetically changing feature if they had cleaned up that kibble. It's unfortunate. MP-36, I think, even suffers a little bit more when you're looking at them all together. The top part, the upper torso, it definitely very much looks like it's leftovers that were just folded in on itself. Not super clean. Would have loved to see a little bit of an better execution on that. But in terms of everywhere else, it actually is quite clean. If had it fixed up that upper back area like DX9, it would probably bolster that even more. But it did clean it up a lot better than DX9. I felt like DX9 really did just leave it there. Especially with the
trigger,
the little trigger cover. Just the trigger guard is very glaring. But you know, nitpicky things. MPO5, unfortunately, because of its dated design, it's all sorts of kibble showing everywhere. Not necessarily a huge amount of kibble. It's just a lot of things show. Right. You can see a lot of things. It's really, you can tell it's a toy. Whereas the rest, you might be fooled to be like it's a figure. Despotron, for sure on that one. Could really fool you if I told you that it didn't transform, it was just a figure. And then now I think just overall color scheme. I think we need to look at the paint work. And just how it differs. Now, the interesting part is when you take a look at it and as a whole, really MP-36 stands out on its own because it doesn't even share the same kind of color as the rest of these guys. So I'm just going to talk about these guys in a bunch. When it comes to the actual paint job and in terms of very shiny, so if you're into like metallic paint and you want this thing to really shine, Apollyon is probably the shiniest out of everything.
That's true.
It's very shiny. So if you like that, it definitely wins in the brilliance department. Everything about it, like, it just catches a little bit of light here, eh? And it just like just sparkles. The DX9 and the Despotron are very similar. But I feel like the DX9 is more consistent overall. And it's not quite as shiny. It's slightly more subdued than the Despotron. But because of the consistency, I really love this color out of the bunch that you got here. If you were going to go with a silver that I think is the most harmonious, it would probably be the DX9. Mitron.
Absolutely. I mean, you can almost feel like this is like, it's just such a glaring silver that really reflects back at you. That's the first thing you notice. It's kind of like almost the same, like about the same silver as that one.
That's right. It like
especially when you look at the faces.
Exactly. And I think they did that. It was probably inspired by that. But if you look at even MP-05, it's like it took MP-05's paint job and just kicked it up a slight notch. Right? Like, just like, it's just very much like blingy. With that silver. So, you know, these two definitely, in terms of a paint job, very similar. These guys are kind of trying to fight to be a little bit different while still keeping that silver. But if you're looking for cartoon accuracy, MP-36 captures that cartoon coloring the best.
Absolutely. Because when you remember the cartoons, Megatron wasn't actually silver. It was just his toy that was a silver
chrome.
Gun. It was actually chrome. So this is something that really, really captures that G1 feel. And I love that it's not silver, red, and black. Instead, it's like this gray. Definitely got a little bit of red, but that's not black. That is like a combination of grays, like light gray, a regular gray, and an even darker gray. So it's really a nice like it flows really well.
That's right, and it doesn't give up the sheen.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It has this subtle metallics in it that give it this nice finish while still not saying, "Hey, look at me, I'm so bright. I look like a star," right?
Yeah.
It's much more subdued.
Yeah.
So, in terms of a paint job, very hard to compare it to the rest of the bulk.
Yeah.
But if you ask me, it was a very welcome change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. And that's our episode for today. We hope you enjoyed it.
Why don't you let us know which one of these Megatron masterpieces is your favorite? Or maybe even share an experience with one of these masterpiece figures that you have had in the past.
As always, if you enjoyed this episode and you want to see more, hit that like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, Ages 3 and Up, and also follow us on Twitter at Ages 3 and Up. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Peace.
Uh-oh.